What if I told you 90% of the problems in your life could actually be avoided simply by staying silent? In a world full of provocation, insults, gossip, and ego, the person who controls their tongue is the person who controls their life. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us that we cannot control what happens outside of us, but we can always control our response. And sometimes the most powerful response is to say nothing at all, to remain silent. In this video, you will learn 9 situations where silence is not weakness, but the highest form of strength. 1. When emotions are at their peak. Have you ever said something in anger and regretted it for years? When emotions rise, whether it's anger, disappointment, or feeling disrespected, your mind is no longer clear. In that moment, you're not speaking to solve the problem, you're speaking to release the emotion, and that's where damage begins. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we cannot control what happens outside of us, but we can always control our response. Emotion is the first reaction. Response is a choice. When you choose silence in moments of anger, you give logic time to return. You create space between stimulus and response. You ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will these words improve the situation or make it worse? Weak people react instantly. Strong people pause. Silence is not weakness, it is discipline, it is emotional mastery. It is the ability to protect your peace instead of proving a point. Because in Stoicism, the greatest victory is not conquering others, but conquering yourself. 2. When you are insulted or disrespected. What if the greatest response to disrespect is no response at all? When someone insults you, criticizes you unfairly, or tries to belittle you, the natural instinct is to fight back. Your ego wants to defend itself, it wants to win, it wants the last word. But according to Marcus Aurelius, other people's words cannot harm your character unless you allow them to. An insult is just sound. The meaning only exists if you accept it. Often, people who insult you are seeking one thing, a reaction. They want your anger, your frustration, your emotional disturbance. And the moment you react, you hand them control. Silence, however, takes that control back. When you remain calm and say nothing, you demonstrate unshakable confidence. You show that your self-worth does not depend on someone else's opinion. You prove that you are grounded enough not to be moved by noise. Not every attack deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Sometimes the strongest statement you can make is choosing not to speak at all.
3. When you don't have clear facts. How often do people speak without truly knowing? In conversations, debates, or arguments, there is pressure to always have an opinion, to respond quickly, to appear knowledgeable. But speaking without clear facts is not strength, it is insecurity disguised as confidence. Marcus Aurelius valued clarity of thought above the need to be heard. Stoicism teaches us to seek truth, not attention. When you don't fully understand a situation, when the information is incomplete, or when emotions are distorting reality, silence is wisdom. There is power in saying, "I don't know." There is strength in choosing to listen instead of rushing to speak. Because once words leave your mouth, you cannot take them back. Assumptions create misunderstandings, rumors destroy trust, and confident ignorance damages credibility. The wise person observes first. They gather facts, they reflect. Silence in moments of uncertainty protects your integrity. It shows maturity. It shows discipline. It shows that you value truth more than ego. In a world full of noise and quick opinions, the one who pauses to understand is already ahead. 4. When someone else is angry. When someone is angry, the worst thing you can do is match their fire. Anger feeds on resistance. The louder they become, the more your ego wants to respond. You want to defend yourself. You want to correct them. You want to prove your point. But reacting to anger with anger only creates chaos. Marcus Aurelius understood that other people's emotions are not within our control, but our response always is. When someone loses control, you have a choice: lose control with them or become the calm in the storm. Silence in that moment is not surrender, it is strategy. When you remain quiet, you allow the other person's emotions to exhaust themselves. You refuse to fuel the conflict. You create space for the situation to cool down. Most arguments don't escalate because of the problem itself. They escalate because of pride. The Stoic knows that timing matters. There is a moment to speak, but it is not when emotions are boiling. Wait until calm returns. Wait until reason is possible. Because true strength is not overpowering someone's anger. It is refusing to be controlled by it. 5. When praise comes flooding in. Praise feels good. It feeds the ego. It makes you feel seen, valued, important. But here is the danger. The same voice that praises you today can criticize you tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that public opinion is unstable. Fame, approval, admiration, all of it is temporary. If you depend on praise for confidence, you also become vulnerable to criticism. When compliments come pouring in, silence keeps you grounded. You don't need to exaggerate your achievements. You don't need to repeat your success. You don't need to convince anyone of your greatness. Let your actions speak. Let your character remain steady. The Stoic understands that external validation is outside of their control. What matters is not what others say about you, but whether you are living according to your principles. Praise is pleasant, but it is not proof of virtue. Applause is loud, but it does not define your worth. So accept compliments with calm gratitude and remain silent enough to remember who you were before the applause began.
6. When gossip begins. When gossip starts, it often sounds harmless. It's just conversation. It's just information. But listen carefully. Gossip is rarely about truth. It is about judgment. When someone speaks poorly about another person who isn't present, you are given a choice: participate or remain silent. Marcus Aurelius believed that your character is shaped by what you repeatedly do. Every time you join gossip, you train your mind to focus on the faults of others instead of improving yourself. Silence in that moment protects your integrity. If someone gossips with you, they will likely gossip about you. And once your words leave your mouth, you lose control of where they travel. The Stoic asks a simple question: does this make me better? If the conversation doesn't build wisdom, strength, or virtue, it is noise. Choosing silence when gossip begins is not awkward, it is disciplined. It shows that you value respect over entertainment, character over curiosity. Because strong minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, weak minds discuss people. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. 7. When you feel the need to prove yourself. There is a silent trap many people fall into: the constant need to prove themselves, to prove their success, to prove their intelligence, to prove their worth. But the more you try to prove your value, the more you suggest that it depends on someone else's approval. Marcus Aurelius understood that true confidence is internal. It does not shout, it does not argue, it does not beg to be recognized. When you feel the urge to defend your reputation or explain your every move, pause. Ask yourself, why do I need them to understand? Not everyone is meant to see your vision. Not everyone is qualified to judge your path. Silence in this moment is power. It shows that your identity is not fragile. It shows that your work speaks louder than your words ever could. The Stoic focuses on actions, not applause, on discipline, not display. If you are truly capable, time will reveal it. If you are truly strong, you don't need to announce it. Because a lion does not have to tell the world it is a lion. It simply walks, and the world understands.
8. When you have just achieved success. Success feels exciting. You want to share it, announce it, celebrate it loudly. And there's nothing wrong with being proud of your hard work. But Stoicism teaches caution in moments of victory. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that everything is temporary, including success. What you achieve today can fade tomorrow. What rises can fall. When you speak too much about your achievements, you feed the ego, and ego is unstable. It begins to depend on recognition. It begins to crave attention. It begins to fear losing status. Silence after success keeps you balanced. Let your results speak for you. Let consistency prove your strength, because one victory does not define your character, your habits do. The Stoic celebrates internally, but remains steady externally. No arrogance, no boasting, no need to magnify the moment. True power is quiet. True success is disciplined. When you win, stay humble, stay focused, stay silent enough to remember the work is not finished, because the moment you think you've arrived is the moment you stop growing. 9. When the truth will reveal itself. Not every misunderstanding needs your immediate defense. Sometimes people misjudge you. They assume, they accuse, they spread a version of the story that isn't true. And your instinct is to correct it instantly, to explain, to argue, to defend your name. But pause. Marcus Aurelius understood that time has a way of exposing what is false. Truth does not panic. Truth does not rush. Truth stands on its own. When you react too quickly, you may appear defensive. When you argue with every critic, you give their words more weight than they deserve. Silence in this moment is trust. Trust in your character. Trust in your actions. Trust in time. If you consistently live with integrity, reality will eventually align with it. People observe more than they admit. Patterns reveal themselves. Lies collapse under their own weight. The Stoic asks, is this within my control? You cannot control what others say, but you can control how you live. And sometimes the strongest move is to remain calm, remain consistent, and let time do the explaining. Because the truth does not need noise to survive. It only needs time.